Afternoon, everyone, for the participants, and welcome to the eTwinning online seminar, Evaluation Strategies for the Classroom. This afternoon, we have our expert, Jose Felix Barrio, here with us to present his presentation for evaluation and classroom activities. So Jose is an eTwinning ambassador from Madrid, Spain. He has extensive background in teaching and research, and he's been focusing on not only teaching and learning, but also training and using ICT. The main objectives of this online seminar are, as I suppose you all read the description, is to understand evaluation as an inherent and essential part of learning process and design integrated evaluation strategies for the classroom. So what you can expect from this presentation and this online seminar is how to deal with practical topics for the classroom, such as evaluation to learn through a formative teaching and learning process, design and using of different tools. So throughout this online seminar, you will be able to ask questions from Jose using the chat. So I suggest you type your comments and your questions, and then we will pick them at the end of this online seminar, where we will do questions and answers. So now, once again, hello and welcome to Jose. Thank you for joining us, and we may start.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. As he said, this is today's topic, evaluation strategies for the classroom. And we are going to deal with this topic. I prepared this index so that you have an idea and what we are going to deal with. Evaluation as a learning process, and then planning the evaluation, tools for evaluation, project work, e-portfolio or blog, self-evaluation, peer evaluation, learning from life, activities, social context, curriculum, and then at the end we will be dealing a bit with Bloom's taxonomy for learning and evaluating. And the first thing I want to say is that the objectives, as they are mentioned, are understand evaluation as an inherent and essential part of learning process. As you see this picture, you have there is, you are climbing up stairs. It's a learning process towards achieving our objectives. Design integrated evaluation strategies which result in the improvement of the learning process, in the development of competencies and achievement of learning objectives. Create resources for collecting information, amplify the evaluation process with technology. And so we are going to see the following contents, which are really, well, Kent Morrison Ross model have a nice wheel with formative evaluation and summative evaluation. But on the left, the screen, you have the questions and also what the answers we were supposed to have during this session. What does it mean to evaluate? What do we evaluate for? Okay, so towards a formative evaluation, this is the main focus of my presentation. I am focusing mainly on formative evaluation, not on summative evaluation. You are expected to see a lot of strategies, activities, tasks, and resources for formative evaluation. where the students are essential. The role of the students in the design phase of the evaluation is paramount. The evaluation in the curricular framework of the different educational stages and evaluation criteria and learning standards. And we are going to see the different competencies. To prepare this presentation, I thought it would be a good idea to have in mind the European framework for the digital competence of educators. As you can see here, we have the educators' professional competencies, the educators' pedagogic competencies, and the learners' competencies. Okay, so we as teachers, we have a professional engagement. We have digital competencies and digital resources, and so it's very important that teaching and learning are together. We have to empower learners. We have to facilitate learners' digital competencies. So evaluation is a student is the main focus. Okay, so even I don't know if you know some Spanish, but evaluación, estudiante como principal usuario de la evaluación, you see, the students are the primary users of the evaluation. The students' effort, the students' process, and the students' achievements. So we have to have this in mind. We are focusing on formative teaching and learning, evaluation linked to authentic and meaningful tasks. This is very important. We have to identify processes and products. Which evaluation criteria are associated to the different processes and products? We have to have that clear when we prepare our programming, our planning. Evaluation requires planning teachers and students together. The elements, authentic and meaningful tasks and activities of the learning process. Evaluation is only a teacher's tool, and the student is the main user. Both must collaborate. This is something very important. The teacher's input elements are important also. Student and teacher have to collaborate. What is the teacher's role? Related to tasks, for example, to identify the errors, lack of accuracy, identify further needs, plan reorientation strategies for to correct errors, identify strengths and positive aspects. If we talk about metacognition, we have to ask as teachers, what learning strategies am I using to learn? Are the strategies I am using efficient? How could I improve them? What could help me learn better? And the emotional aspects are essential. You have to offer info about intermediate and final goals. Make visible to the student his achievements or her achievements. Make visible the impact of personal effort. Facilitate the performance about the results obtained. Contribute to the development of a culture of entrepreneurship. Evaluation must be for learning. This is really important. Designing an integrated task with formative evaluation. So here, and on this slide, we can see the three main stages for planning, for designing integrated tasks. Evaluation for learning, so we have to have an idea, the idea. We have to keep a portfolio. I suggested, because what I am telling you is taken from my experience. So our portfolio, our blog, one blog, we created a blog as a portfolio, all right? So we could keep everything on the blog and on the portfolio for learning, to get feedback, feed forward, and also for evaluation. So the first thing is the idea. The second thing is planning the evaluation. So to plan the evaluation, first we have to think with the students. You think, well, okay, everybody, you have to think of what you want to produce. You want to solve a problem or a product, or to create a product. You can target one of these things, okay? Once you have that, you have to plan criteria and standards of evaluation, and then you define the sequence of activities, okay? And then you design tools for evaluation. We designed e-portfolios, rubrics, diagrams of evaluation, observation scale, okay? Very important when you are at the beginning with the idea, what does the student use the evaluation for? See, the student has to think, where am I going to, and where am I? How do I learn better? How can I get there? So you follow some steps. I just draw out, these 4 steps, like develop a growth mindset. It's very important. Maintain motivation and effort. Understand how we learn and develop learning strategies, and take responsibility for yourself, for himself, for herself. So these are key ideas. Student is the key element. The student has to be responsible, has to be motivated. If not, learning is not happening, and of course, evaluation is not, it doesn't happen either. So we have to, think of a project as a product. We created through a project different tasks, okay, with the objectives, contents, and competencies. For example, Winter Festival, a poster can be one of the products or the activities to create a poster, right? Seminar, this seminar and this course I designed has 3 blocks, in the block 1, we prepared our work. The idea, the blog, as I just mentioned. The second block was about planning the evaluation, defining the product or the problem, planning the criteria and standards of evaluation, and then sequence of activities. And the third block is designing the tools, as I said before. Okay, so in the first block, what did we do? We set up challenges, right? We had our first challenge was preparing our work environment, our portfolio. That was the first task, to open a blog, with different apps. They could use different apps. Blogger was easier for most of them, but WordPress, and there are many different ones. So each one opened the blog that they felt more easy with. The second challenge was to transform the idea of evaluation, because in some this group I had, because when I did that, I was teaching, vocational training and higher in commerce, the second grade, and so they were very excited about the idea of planning with me and transforming the idea of evaluation. An exam, most of them in most of subjects had, exams at the end of the unit, but with this approach, the evaluation was integrated. So we planned, we chose a contest, okay, another evaluation for learning, formative evaluation we used by the teacher. We were giving feedback and feed forward all the time. I will explain that later also. And error as a key element in the process of evaluation. We dealt with when to evaluate, who evaluates, I had in Spanish here on the right, because we prepared this of course in Spanish, and in English we had the translation in English. In the block 2, we were planning the evaluation. In this block, we had to define, some of the students defined a product and some of the students defined a problem, so not all of them chose the same. The idea was to let students choose and grow themselves according to their interests. So they, in the second block, they plan the evaluation criteria and the standards and design a sequence of activities. In the contents, we have here evaluation as an inherent part of the learning process. This is very important. The evaluation criteria and valuable learning standards, planning to evaluate official curricula, integrated tasks and evaluation criteria, and designing tasks. So in the third block, we designed tools to evaluate, you see. So first the idea, second the planning, third the tools to evaluate. So we defined the evaluation indicators for the task product. We designed the evaluation rubric. Rubric was one of the tools, but not only rubric, as you can see, systematic evaluation record with e-portfolio rubric, co-rubric. We did co-rubric as well, and evaluation targets, well, dianas of evaluation, and observation records. And how we worked, how are we going to work? You see, so we have the 3 blocks and the project. The first brainstorming, planning, designing tools, and the project. They had to some of them did a product, and some of them made solve problems, but all of them had to make a project, the design of integrated tasks with formative evaluation, right? So as you see, all this, we had this all together, the 3 blocks, the project, the portfolio, and in the room. You see, this slide adds the room that we were doing all this in the room, you know. So the portfolio as used it as a self-evaluation, personal reflection on the learning process. So we used that as a personal reflection. Then the peer evaluation. We practiced this evaluation using Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, comment on interesting topics, resources, new ideas, answer the likely questions, you know, all this evaluación entre pares, peer evaluation. And of course, all this goes with activities. How will you handle your activities? Okay. We use, as I said from the beginning, the portfolio and the forum. Most of the activities will be held in the blog. And in the forum, we encouraged participation. Participation in the forum was compulsory, and the teacher verifies and also participates, but only when students require, not all the time, you know. What are the criterios de evaluación? Evaluation criteria. So, as I said, we plan integrated tasks with ICT, focusing on the learning experience. Students proposed, okay, topic chosen as by the students was the key element. So that idea was very important. Always evaluation to learn. The learning focus, you see, I selected these 4 sentences, okay? Learning focus, they are in Spanish, but focusing the learning experiences to do something real, to share with others. See, on the right, to share with others, okay? Something real, not to accumulate knowledge, and not to keep the knowledge for myself, you know, but on the contrary, to do something real and to share with others, okay, to have that to the service of the community. So the learning focus was to learn, but before that, learning through and in relation to the real life, as John Dewey said, you know. So basically, it's a student-centered learning, student-centered evaluation. What they want to learn, how they are going to learn it, how to track their progress, what determines success. You know, this is extremely important. So in the process, we had to take decisions. So what were the first decisions? What are the students going to create? Are they going, as I said from the beginning, to create the product, to solve the problem? Student motivation is important. Student role is important. So you see here, why will it be motivating? The decision connects with what interests, emotion, tastes, needs of the student. What role does the student have? What decision will the students make about their work, about the contents, task, process? You see, the idea, the goals, their attitude, success, performance, and support. Support from another student and also from the teacher. Who will the creation of students be useful for? This is important, okay? For their classmates, schoolmates, school community, town, city, other people. Where should students search for ideas to define the tasks? So we had it clear here. You see the slide. Students' interests and needs, social context, and curriculum guidelines. Of course, we have an official curriculum, so we had to look at that. Student-centered interest and needs. You see, there were wide discussions about their interests. Each one had a different interest, different needs, but we all mentioned these important topics: classroom conversations, classroom conflicts, a question, an enigma, film, multimedia resource exploration, a talk with an expert, a visit outside the classroom, a problem event in the community, a press release, you know. You see, planning to do the shopping, for example, is something real, okay? When children or students plan, you know, for someone's birthday, so they plan. They also catalog works from the city's museum. You see, this is a real activity. All these were ideas. We document the old town with QR code. So we learned to prepare a QR code, you know, for we had the blog with the QR code, the web page of the school, you see, to invent mechanisms with old bikes. You see, that is also something real that attracted them. Or to investigate our environment. We create a wiki on the birds of our area, you see, to create and control robots. This is also very interesting for them, you know, with the robots. Collaborate with the area shops. And, you know, this was really motivating. Some of them did the leaflet with the products, the key QR codes, you know, the one, you know, local shop there next to the school. So they were really motivated and they were sharing with the locality. For example, now it could be, I thought of setting this really update topic to analyze real events in our world. for example, to fight COVID-19. So these are ideas, okay, to do with them. We can do that with them online. And now, because we have no school, this analysis of the real events are very important to stay healthy at home, avoid crowds and gatherings, practice social distancing, know when to seek care, forbid government, wash hands and surfaces, apply for benefits, prioritize mental health, do not travel, report non-compliance. It's just to show real life events. To create also, it's a real life event. We create materials for our locality. For example, a triptych for the town hall, you see. It's important to create video tutorials for others to learn and share them, a tutorial. We practiced this. They were very interested in preparing video tutorial, you know, for the how to prepare leaflets. You see, ICT tutorials with video. They used Animoto, but some of them, but there are many. So students send interest, and on top of that, that they have to be passionate, interested, delighted, and be excited about both teacher and students. So you can get involved, excited, fun, and live the learning experience as something personal, you see. So once we had that, how to organize tasks, you see. So we had a main organizing topic at the center of the slide. On the left, students' interest. On the right, the social context. And below the main organizing topic, the evaluable learning standards curriculum, the curriculum. Okay, so here you have the same slide, but adding the curriculum, student sentence curriculum and social context. Okay, so in order to do the project work, okay, the product of the problem to solve. So here the curriculum was very important. So to organize tasks and activities. So we have different activities, you see, different activities, okay, to create real products. And so this had to be sharing, you know. They worked in pairs, in groups, individually, the whole group, you know, all through the activities. So you see, I presented them, you know, the Bloom's pyramid, how, you know, for the tasks, you know, create, evaluate, analyze, apply, understand, remember. Okay, to have all that in mind was important to prepare the activities. Okay, so is you know, Bloom's digital taxonomy map. I showed them with all what that it implies, okay, and they were very excited about, you know, following this pattern, okay. So can the student recall or remember the information, you see? So remembering from the low to the upper learning experience, you see. We had activities for remembering, for understanding, for applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. Okay, so Yes. Here are different slides. I showed them, okay, with the same ideas, Bloom's taxonomy, and we had them in Pine Rest, and you know, with the different verbs and activities associated to each different different item Bloom mentioned. You see, they had to define, to list, to label, or remember, okay, by pinning images and adding captions, or classifying, summarizing, convert, retell, etc., etc. We don't have time to go all through, okay? Valuable learning standards, okay? So the standards are very important. They are in our curriculum, you know, the official curriculum. So objectives, content organized in blocks, evaluation criteria, competencies, and ideas for tasks. Here I just will show, you know, applied to the year 4 of social sciences, explain the composition of rocks, naming some of their types, justify and explain the difference between rocks and minerals. You see, these are the applied to one of the courses I taught also about 4 years ago. And so we have here, you know, the standards of learning, describe the weather station, explain its function, and make temperature and precipitation graphics. So you see, we pay attention to one of them or some of them, okay, to show autonomy, initiative, searching for dogs, set up assumptions, use adequate vocabulary, draw strategies to work. So the standards are important. So we had
Hello,
to
sorry,
plan
Jose,
activities,
to interrupt.
okay, for yes.
So we cannot see the
Yes.
slides now. They appear
Yes,
like a little square on top of the other slide. So I don't know if you can somehow make it bigger.
Because to me they are okay, but you cannot see the slide. Let me see. Okay.
Okay, yeah, so okay. So some participants can see and the others cannot. Okay.
It's better? All right. Okay, maybe because the light is maybe because of the light of the slide, because they are you know, the colors and maybe shading. So can I continue? Because it's about 10 minutes more, right? Or 5 or 7. Okay.
So it's
So you see,
okay, yeah, we can see them now.
we planned entry. Yes. So I continue. Okay. So entry, development, and closing activities. All right. So the sequence of activities, definition, evaluable standards, use of ICT, and tools selection. Okay. So it was very important in the activities, you know, entry activities. What will we be doing? Why are we interested in that? How? How do we know? Search. all right, organize. So activities of entry, the first column on the left, the activities of development on the second, develop conclusions, recapitulate what we learned and make presentations, and activities for closing, all right, to publish and to evaluate. So we were designing tools for evaluation, all right? We compared the tools on formative evaluation and summative evaluation. Formative, comparing, when the chef tastes the noodles, and summative evaluation when the guest tastes the noodles, all right? So we had this graphic stating the different information, what information for formative, and if we were using summative evaluation, the others, when to give, all right, where the context, why, okay. So this is really Tesmer states very clearly that evaluation is a data gathering process to determine the worth or value of the instruction or its strengths and weaknesses. The identified strengths and weaknesses are used to revise the instruction to improve its effectiveness and appeal. Thus, formative evaluation is a judgment of the strengths and weaknesses of instruction in its developing stage for purposes of revising the instruction to improve its effective and appeal. Okay, so just for clarification, formative evaluation. Okay, it's I don't have time to go through all this slide, but it's just that it should comprehend the design, the evaluation, develop the protocol of tests for test session, pilot tests, conduct the evaluation, interpret the data collected, and prepare a report. Okay, so you have the different. We used self-evaluation. All right, it's very important with obvious errors. Revise, revise, revise. You see, one-to-one, expert review, small group, and field test. So we used all of them. Assessment for learning. That's what we are doing in this with this project. Okay, and we used rubrics. Rubrics assessing learning outcomes. So it's very important in the rubric to set up the criteria. Okay, on the left hand side, and then on the descriptors, in each of the squares, and at the top horizontally, all right, the level of performance, the score, the level of performance, excellent, good, or poor, and the score. And this is, so the rubrics should reflect all this. Some other example, student self-assessment rubrics. Okay, so here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then more simple. All right, there are many different kinds. Peer evaluation, for example, with little faces. Peer assessment narrative checklist over your partner's work and judge their writing. You see, narrative criteria. You see, and then with faces, very simple one. Core rubrics is important, but here you have the aspects to evaluate, the description of the experts, and then expert advance, appearance, novel, the punctuation, okay, and on the right the colleague's grade. So we used this many times. the portfolio. We used the portfolio for the process and the product, to solve the problem and to solve the for a product. Okay, helps you reflect on the learning and discover interests, and products show your work to employers, professors, and missions, etc. All right. So a portfolio was part of our evaluating process. Portfolios of assessment for assessment, you see, of assessment, the results, the essays, and for assessment. You have here the potential benefits of portfolio, formative input during portfolio building, random sampling, peer assessment, automatic inclusion, automated summary information, reduced monitoring, piloting is important, you see. So as you will have this presentation available, I am not, because I put a few of them, like a graphic scale rating is another tool for evaluating. So as I said at the beginning, the teacher is a collaborator, and teacher and student collaboration is very important. So teachers need to position yourself in an active learning model, place the student as the protagonist of their learning, adopt the role of facilitator and creator of learning, okay? Plan the assessment, make decisions, project and sequence, and have tools for collecting. And then, you see, feedback and feed forward are very important in this kind of evaluation. Feedback must be timely and descriptive and must be provided by different agents, the teacher, the classmates, peer evaluation, and the student himself, and the experts. And feed forward includes information that is intended to help the student to do similar tasks in the future. Okay, so, and to end this presentation, I wanted to show you here Edgar Dale's Cone of Learning. I think it's very important to have it in mind. You see, 10% of what we read, okay, after 2 weeks, we tend to remember, okay? 20% of what we hear, 30% of what we see, 50% of what we hear and see, 70% of what we say, and 90% of what we say and do. So it's very important, according to Edgar Gale, and I agree with him with this graph, that doing real things, there are many more chances of learning, of remembering. Okay, so this was my final conclusion, that evaluation is scaffolding or learning. You see, the evaluation is a joint construction tool with which the teacher and the student collaborate and grow. Okay, and so I think we are coming to an end. This is the license, Creative Commons, and thank you very much for your attendance. I will be glad to answer some of the questions, or depending on how many, and also I think
thank you very much. Any questions for Jose now? Should we share the link to the quiz at some point?
Yes, if you can.
At the moment, there are no questions.
It's important.
Yeah, so at the moment, no questions, unless there's somebody wants to ask any question. Perhaps if I can start with, so your presentation was a lot about evaluation and assessment, and now that many teachers have been working from, okay. I put the link to the quiz in the
if there are
chat.
questions, if not, we can share. Right. So we can see the link.
And also you can, if you want, you can turn on your camera as well, because I see that it's you have it on and you can start also sharing if that works.
I have my camera on, yes. So should I put it off? Okay. So the quiz is okay.
Share the link to the quiz in the file, so if you, the participants can click, and you should see this window for the quiz.
Yes. Yes. So they have to try to answer these questions. And they have only 30 seconds to answer. Are we sharing the questionnaire or not? Así? Así?
Sorry, can you repeat? I don't hear you very well.
Can we share the questionnaire or not?
You can share the questionnaire. You can share, yes, you can share it either from your screen or I share it from my screen.
Yes. So my screen is being shared or not?
Yes, we see your screen, but not the quiz.
Not the quiz? Okay. So I have my quiz here.
Now we see the quiz. Yes, so now we see it.
Let me see.
Yes, now we see it.
Okay. So So they can answer, all right, one of the following is not appropriate for rubrics. Rubrics are necessary for scoring tests. The rubrics describe the performance. To observe the product that is the result of the student work. To observe the students in the process of doing something. So they have to answer. They have to have this on their screen and click on the one they think is not appropriate. One of the following is not appropriate for rubrics. For example, if we click on this, all right. So I don't know how many are playing. So what is a portfolio for? You see, for personal reflection on the learning process, for calculating a benchmark, for assessing student results.
Hello, yes, so we will share the slides and the recording afterwards. Any questions now? So I assume all of you did the quiz. So any questions about the quiz or the presentation to Jose? So all of you got 100% in the quiz, I suppose? So as you see, when you complete the quiz, you will have an overview of all the questions, so you can use that as well for reviewing the material. Okay, I will put the link to the quiz one more time in the chat, so we can check it afterwards. So meanwhile, Jose, can you hear us? We don't hear you. I see perhaps some movement, but we don't hear you. Yes, so any questions? And Jose is also on eTwinning, so if you have questions afterwards, you can connect with him on eTwinning Live as well. And here is his email as well. Okay, so the comment is that everything was very clear. It's okay, Olga, if you can't join the quiz, we put the link in the chat so you can do it later, so whenever you have the time. Yes, Vanda says it was a very clear presentation. Exactly, thank you. And in case if you want to review the presentation, or if you want to have a look at it again, we will of course share it on the event page. So you will have the presentation there as well. And perhaps the quiz, we can also put the link to the event space as well. So you all have the access for it. Okay, so unless any other questions, we're a bit over time, so I will stop the recording here, and I want to say thanks again for all the participants, and especially